All right, we're in it. Hey, welcome to another edition of the Simple Live virtual cooking class. My name is Chef Brian Curley, and today I'm going to do a live step-by-step breakdown of another high-protein meal prep entree that I created recently. It's another delicious, healthy meal that I want you to learn how to cook at home, and I think you're going to love this one. And after that, I want to share a special offer I created to give you the tools you need right at your fingertips to reach the full potential of your cooking abilities without going to culinary school or slaving away in restaurant kitchens like I did for years. But first, let's talk about what Simple is and how you can use it to break the cycle of unhealthy eating choices. So SIMPL stands for Science Integrated Meal Prep Lab, and it's an online resource for you to learn how to master high protein meal prep so you can support your fitness routine and become nutritionally self-reliant. Now, I have a different approach to meal prep than most people who work in fitness. I've been a chef here in San Diego for many years, running season catering. And in that time, I've tested hundreds of recipes using healthy ingredients that my customers enjoy. Now, I've also heard a lot of misconceptions about what healthy meal prep is. Most people think that deciding to eat nutritious food means giving up the food with the flavors that they crave. There's this notion that if you're going to live a healthy lifestyle, then your eating options are going to take a hit. But I've done this long enough to know that's just not the case. You don't have to sacrifice the enjoyment of the food you eat to eat healthy. So the thing is, I eat all the food that I cook, and my meal prep is the foundation for staying healthy for my whole life. And after cooking professionally for it's been 21 years now, what I found is that you don't need to use unhealthy ingredients to uh, to cook food that you get excited to eat, to cook food that you look forward to coming home to eat for dinner. You basically just need to practice the same techniques that chefs have been using for hundreds of years to transform raw ingredients into the mouth-watering dishes that you look forward to eating. So I'm going to share with you a dish that I created, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I'm going to bring it up on YouTube. Let's see, and I'll have to remember to mute the audio of the video. Just a moment here. Pull it up, and we'll get cracking into it. Okay. So this dish is a pepper crusted sirloin roast with celery root mash and maple glazed Brussels sprouts. So there you have it. That's what it looks like to start. And so here, the first step is we're going to uh, get a seasoning mix together. Very simple, just freshly ground black pepper and kosher salt. We're going to mix it up in this mixing bowl here, toss it together. And then we'll put it on a plate. We're going to get our meat here. We're going to kind of give us a crust of the salt and pepper all over each side of the meat. Now, before we start cooking it, I just want to mention one very important point about how to roast a piece of meat, especially a larger piece, and get it to cook evenly. Now, you may have in the past roasted a piece of meat and didn't cook evenly all through the center of it. Maybe it was too red right in the center and a little bit overcooked along the edges. So if you use this method, you're not going to have that problem. And it's extremely simple. You basically just need to have a little bit of foresight before you cook it. And by that, I mean, pull the meat out of the refrigerator and just let it sit at room temperature, like on a plate, for about 1 or 2 hours. And that's going to allow it to come up to room temperature so that when you start cooking it, it's not going to be really cold on the inside. It's going to be an even temperature all throughout the meat, which will allow the heat to penetrate more quickly and finish cooking the roast more quickly and evenly. And you'll see the results of that when we're done here. So we got the seasoning crust on the meat. We're gonna put it on a baking rack on a baking pan, and it's gonna go in the oven. I did this one at 350 degrees. And after about 60 to 90 minutes, it's gonna be done. It's gonna come up to about 130 degrees, which is the point when we want to pull it. So we're looking for 130 degrees Fahrenheit, pull it out of the oven, and it's going to allow it to carry over cook, which means it's going to continue to cook even after it's out of the oven, and it'll end up at about 140 degrees. Next, we're going to cut our Brussels sprouts, our vegetable for this dish. So we're going to cut each one of them. We're going to slice off the brown tip, the stem, and just simply cut them in half lengthwise. We'll set those aside. And then we're going to toss the Brussels sprouts in a mixing bowl with some melted grass-fed butter and a sprinkle of salt. Toss them up, make sure they're nicely evenly coated. We're going to cook these on on the stovetop in a heavy saute pan and a hot saute pan. Put them all in there with the sliced side down, and we're going to brown the sliced side of these Brussels sprouts. And after a couple minutes, when they're brown, we're going to flip them over, each one of them. This is kind of a precise method of doing it. You could just toss them all in the pan without without that individual treatment. They'd still turn out okay, but I want them to look really nice, so I gave them that individual flip treatment. Into the oven they go with the beef, and they're going to cook in the oven 350 for about 10 minutes. We'll pull them out, and once they're al dente, they're done after about 10 minutes. Now we're going to finish these Brussels sprouts by tossing them with some red wine vinegar and some maple syrup, and that's going to give it a nice little bit of acidity with the red wine vinegar and a touch of sweetness with the maple syrup. And I also have these delicious toasted slivered almonds that we're going to toss with the Brussels sprouts. It's a really nice side dish. Toss those together. And they're still hot, so I want them to not cook anymore, overcooked. So I'm going to leave them on a flat pan to cool down. Next, we're going to make the celery root mash, some milk, and some grass-fed butter. We're going to leave that to warm in the pan. We don't want that to boil. Just get it nice and warm. Now, what you see here, let me back that up. You may not be familiar with these, what you see here. Now, everyone's had celery, obviously. Celery's nice. This is the root of the celery plant, the underground part. It's a starchy vegetable. It's a firm, kind of fibrous, starchy vegetable. What we're gonna do is cut off the green part. We're gonna cut off that brown skin. We're not gonna use that. And what's inside is a nice white vegetable, kind of similar to a turnip, a little similar to a potato. So here we're gonna trim it off. You see the inside of it is nice white color. So we'll get rid of the skin, sort of cut around the edge there, remove it. And we have that nice celery root. So we're gonna cut this into about 1-inch dice. It doesn't have to be precise because we're gonna puree it. And like I said, this is we're making a celery root mash, so it's gonna be similar to mashed potatoes. Now here we have potatoes, and what I did is for this I'm doing half potatoes and half celery root because I like the texture of potatoes. Everyone does. So it's gonna be half celery root, half potatoes. And we're essentially gonna make kind of like a mashed potatoes, but it's going to be slightly lower carb. You don't get as much carbs with the celery root, and it's got its own kind of distinct flavor that I really like. So we're gonna go into a stock pot, cover it with water, bring it to a boil. And once the vegetables are soft, that means more than al dente, cooked past al dente until they're soft, falling apart soft. That's going to be about 15, 20 minutes. Then we're going to drain them out in a colander in the sink. So drain out those vegetables, and now we're going to mash it with uh, that milk and butter mixture that we kept warm. So first of all, I like to use some Dijon mustard and some salt, and we're gonna mash that up with a potato masher until the clumps are broken up. And there's our butter and our milk. And then we're gonna use a immersion blender to puree it. You could also use a standing blender, like a smoothie blender, if you like. I like this immersion blender. That's gonna make it nice and smooth and well pureed. We'll set that aside. Now back to the beef. Now this beef, um, important note about letting it rest. After the meat comes out of the oven, it's still gonna be hot. You want to let it rest so that the meat juices have time to reabsorb into the tissues of the meat. If you don't do that, if you slice it while it's still hot, then the juices are just gonna bleed out over the cutting board, and the meat's gonna taste dry. So for this roast, it's about 2 pounds. So I let it rest for 40 minutes after it came out of the oven. And my rule for that is for every pound of meat that you roast, you want 20 minutes. This was 2 pounds, so we rested it for 40 minutes. So what you're seeing here is I'm going to slice into it, and you're going to see it's going to be a nice, evenly colored meat all the way through. Kind of like a reddish pink sort of color, going for medium rare here. I'm going to slice that into about 3 pieces, just so it's manageable, so it fits into the meal prep boxes. You don't want the pieces too large. And just slice them thinly, about a quarter of an inch thin, and set them aside. We'll come back to those in a minute. How we're going to plate this dish. So I always do 5 portions, just arbitrary number, 5 portions. Put the celery root mash down first, and then we lay the Brussels sprouts alongside it. And then next to it, we're going to lay the sliced beef. So only 3 components for this. I didn't make a sauce. Doesn't need a sauce. It's nice without it. Put the lids on, stack them up, and into the fridge they go. And some people have asked, what's the best way to reheat these type of meals? Generally, I mean, there's no firm way to do it. You could reheat these in the containers because they're microwavable containers, or if you prefer, you can just remove all the components, put them on a plate, and then put that in the microwave. That works great. One thing I would say for a dish like this, uh, if you're going to cook the meat any longer, like heating it in the microwave, obviously it's going to cook more, so you might end up with well done meat. Generally, what I do for something like this, I would just pull the meat out of that container, set it aside, and then heat up the vegetables separately. I don't mind eating meat that's a little bit colder at room temperature, but that way it preserves its nice medium rare um, medium rare temperature. Beautiful dish. It's delicious. I enjoyed it. I hope you cook it too. So that'll do it for that. We'll bring it right back here. There I am. Right. So, anyways, here we are. We're a few weeks into January, starting off 2025. And I think that's a great time to make the decision to take your nutrition back into your own hands. Now, unless you can afford a personal chef, you're kind of going to be at the mercy of whatever's convenient and whatever you're craving when it comes to lunch and dinner. But when you know how to cook like a chef using real nutritious ingredients, you can take back your power from the corrupt food industry and remove yourself from a system that doesn't serve you. And that's exactly what you're going to learn how to do as a simple insider. Now, when you become a premium member for just $19 a month, you're not getting a cookbook that you're going to read once and leave it on a shelf to collect dust. You're getting a set of online tools to become nutritionally self-reliant so you can permanently end junk food cravings and quit sabotaging your metabolism. Now, if this sounds like something you've been missing, go ahead and head over to my website right now. Click on the premium membership and get a head start on supporting your health naturally in 2025. Now, when you become an insider, basically you're going to be light years ahead of everyone else at the gym when it comes to supporting your nutritional needs. So here's what you're going to get. Now, each week you'll get a written breakdown of the new high protein dish that I create and share with my readers. Each week I go into detail about a particular subject that's going to help you become a more skilled, confident cook. And that's available to all my readers, the free subscribers and the insiders. But I save the most important information for paid subscribers. The Simple Insider section is where you get the full step-by-step written recipe, which includes the ingredients and quantities that you need so your dish comes out perfect. No extra guesswork. And after I shoot the video of me cooking the dish, I taste it and I adjust the quantities of the ingredients so that when you make the dish at home, it's going to turn out perfectly if you follow the written directions. You're also going to get the full-length video that's unlisted on YouTube, so only Simple Insiders have the link. So on this video, you can watch each step on your phone while you're cooking it, so your version looks the same as mine. You're also going to get all the links to buy all the ingredients online through Amazon Fresh, so you can save an hour of shopping and get all the ingredients delivered to your house. And that way you don't have to drive to the store and push a shopping cart and check out and deal with all that hassle. You're going to save a ton of time just by skipping the shopping trip. So in addition to that, you're going to get a free resource that's going to show you how to use a chef's knife safely and precisely so you can cut with confidence. It's a video that I made called Knife Skills Mastery. And once you practice these skills, you're going to feel like a professional in the kitchen. You're also going to get access to my weekly Q&A session every Tuesday, right after the virtual cooking class. It's exclusively for Simple Insiders, so you can ask me any questions you have about cooking. For example, if I didn't explain something well enough in the recipe, ask me on the weekly Zoom session, and I will do my best to explain it to you, explain it for you. So here's what I want you to do. If you haven't joined Simple Insider yet, head over to cooksimple.beehive.com/upgrade. We're going to do that right now here. Let's see. So we'll type this into the browser. Simple.beehive.com/upgrade. All right, and I'll include a link in the description for this video. So you see the three options to describe or to subscribe. The free option only includes the basic features, but when you get all the tools, you'll get all the tools I just described when you choose either the monthly or the annual paid subscription. And most people choose the monthly subscription because you can get all these features for the first month for free. And if you like the subscription, you can keep it for just $19 a month. If it's not for you, you can cancel before the month is up and you pay nothing. So that's that. Now, if you've ever thought, hey, maybe now is a great time to start taking cooking seriously once and for all, or hey, maybe I should do a better job of setting myself up with meals for the week so I'm not asking like what's for dinner every night. Now we've all asked ourselves that. Or maybe you've already got a meal prep routine. You're tired of cooking the same 3 dishes. I would encourage you to click the link in the video description and become a Simple Insider today. I get feedback from new members all the time that they're actually excited to eat their own cooking now that they're inspired to cook the simple way. So if you're an insider, I'll be opening up the weekly Q&A session right after this so you can get all your cooking questions answered. Go ahead and exit this meeting and click the link to join the Q&A meeting that was sent in the last email. And for everyone else, that is all I got for you this week. I will see you next Tuesday at 3 p.m. Pacific time for the next simple virtual cooking class. Thanks for joining me.